Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark. And in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Christopher Ray Patton. So we were talking off mic before we hit record here today, and just about one artist, but it just gets me to thinking in the past few moments, and I was already thinking about it to begin with, if I'm being honest with you guys. But the music business and stories inside the music industry, your favorite artists, to artists that maybe you're just familiar with, or perhaps artists you've never heard of. A lot of these people don't have good endings. They just don't. Whether it's drugs and alcohol, whether it's, sexual assault, whether it's in some cases murder, OD, dying very, very young, or if nothing else, alienating everyone around you. Maybe some mental issues are at play, like mental health issues. It could be anything. But like this idea that not every story in the music business has a happy ending. Newsflash, kids, that's kind of real life. And even though musicians don't seem like real people sometimes because they seem larger than life and they're in the videos and on your TV and they're live in concert, 30,000 people or whatever it is. Sometimes they just seem like they're not real people, but again, they very much are. And as we said, sometimes these folks don't get happy endings. But the act we're talking about here today, and I use the word ending as if they're dead. They're not dead, okay? But we're talking about Outkast, and they very much got a happy ending. And what does that mean? Well, that means that, they were kind of normal guys when they started, and they're kind of like normal guys now. And we'll get into that a little bit here today because we are talking about Outkast. And I saw this today actually being described as a legendary album, Stankonia. That's what we're talking about here today. And it is one of their classic all-time records. We'll leave it up to you kids out there to decide if you agree whether or not it's legendary, but we got a lot to cover. So let's get into it. Stankonia is the fourth studio album by the American hip-hop duo Outkast, released on October 31st, 2000. Yes, it's been that long. By LaFace Records and Arista Records. The album was recorded in the duo's recently purchased Atlanta recording facility, Stankonia Studios, which allowed for fewer time and recording constraints and featured a production work from Earth Tone 3, a production team consisting of Outkast and Mr. DJ, and longtime collaborators Organized Noise. As we said, this album was released in 2000. Insane that it's been that long. And this album did some good business, kids. And just in case you don't know and you'd like a little bit of trivia here, this album has gone platinum 5 times. Sold over 5 million copies. Legendary, buddy, you better believe it. By one of the best hip-hop duos of all time. And that is your lowdown on Stankonia. So, Chris, you said you had a ton of notes going into this. And you and I have talked about Outkast before. And we wanted to circle back here today and cover this album. What do you think about this album right out of the gate? Do you have a favorite Outkast album, and is this your favorite?
It is not my favorite. AT-Aliens is my favorite. This would be my second favorite, though. And probably more important as in the grand scheme of things as far as who it influenced, what it did with music at the time, kind of the exposure to Atlanta rap in general. And you're talking about a 5-year gap for, I think AT-Aliens came out in 95. This is 2000. It's a time period in which this album debuts at number 2. Do you know who the number 1 album was when this album debuted?
So this was 2000. Oh my. I would be guessing. I don't know.
Limp Bizkit's Chocolate Starfish in the Hot Dog Flavored Water.
Oh, God help us all.
So, as much as I love My Way, WrestleMania, The Rock versus Austin.
Sure.
this album's way better than that album, and that was the fastest selling rock album at the time. It sold 1 million units
Wow.
week 1. So headed into week 2, this album drops, and it comes in at number 2. So this album did not hit number 1 on debut, which is kind of crazy to think about, especially with it having I would say two of the most well-known Outkast songs. And then you add in, later on Speaker Box and Love Below,
Mhm.
with things like I Like the Way You Move and Roses, and obviously did what's the one where he's singing and clapping and shaking it like a Polaroid? Can't think of the name of it, but
Right.
those kind of bridge the mainstream. But this album is the precursor to that. This is where you start getting little touches of Andre 3000 becoming what Andre 3000 is on Speaker Box and Love Below, and to some extent Idlewild, which I think is an underrated album. Not some good of a movie, but as an album, it's pretty good.
I agree.
Just rankings at the time, some reviews and things said about this album. Outkast Stankonia had 4.5 mics in the source. It was the highest rated album that year. It would be the highest rated album that, as far as what they gave things, up until Nas is Stillmatic. So In Great Company, which Nas is Stillmatic got 5 stars. For those that don't know that, they know at least the track Ether, just from Jay-Z lore, I'm sure.
Right.
If you're listening to this and you've made it this far, you're probably a hip hop fan. Other albums that year that got ranked: Jay-Z, The Dynasty, Rock La Familia was 3.5. Eminem, The Marshall Matters LP was 4. Ludacris, Back for the First Time was 4. Nelly, Country Grammar was 3.5, and Ja Rule's Rule 336 was 3.5, as well as 3-6 Mafia's When the Smoke Clears 3.5, which was actually released the week before this album and includes Sipping on Some Scissor, which has Big Boy on the track. So it's kind of funny how those lined up. And definitely in this year, those are the two. As far as like things that sounded like Outkast, 3-6 Mafia is probably the closest, even though very different, very different band, but another group performance. So it's a great album as well, but we're not going to get too in the woods on that. Rolling Stones called it one of the best albums of the year. Like I said, Source gave it 4.5. All Music said it was the second straight masterstroke, which is coming off of their Aquamania, which is also a great album. And then Entertainment Weekly gave it Artful Ambition, praising the duo's ability to examine serious themes imaginatively, which we'll get into as we go through. The Village Voice had harder, darker textures and sophisticated song structure. So this album was well loved at the time. And like magazines like Rolling Stone have went on to throw it in the top 500 albums of all time, ranking it kind of low to begin with, but they revisited that in 2020. They have it ranked at 60, I think, somewhere in the
Wow.
60s.
Yeah.
So it shot way up over the years. So it's one of those albums that's kind of aged. I mean, living here in Atlanta, Outkast is a staple, has been a staple. The South's got something to say, as they all let us know during the East Coast and West Coast battles.
Mhm.
I mean, incredible album, and I can't wait to dive into it. Sorry, I put a lot of information out there, but
Yeah, it's a lot of it. Well, thanks, kids. That's all we got. Good night. No, that's awesome. The song you're thinking about earlier was Hey Ya. And by the way, I totally agree with your analysis of this being a major sign of where Andre 3000 was going. Like, there's only 2 videos from this album, and only 3 singles, if you can wrap your head around that. But in those videos, you very much see him as the guy that he becomes later. Phil Lindsay and I, shout out to Phil, did Speaker Box and Love Below here on the 6M. It's in the archive, kids. Go check it out. But when we did that review, we talked about how these 2 guys were very different and how that album, we kind of compared it to, John gets side A of Abbey Road and Paul got side B. And, they're sort of coming at it from 2 different perspectives, but when they come together, they still make magic. Like these guys, even as they become more like individuals later in their careers, dude, when they work together, it's fantastic. Like, we kicked this thing off by saying they had a happy ending, man. What's your thoughts on this, man? Like in terms of, I would love to see Outkast back together. There just doesn't seem to be any desire on the part of those guys to ever do anything. And I don't think there's anything like bad blood unless you know something I don't, but it just seems like they just don't wanna do it or they don't care to do it, man. What's your thoughts on that?
It seems more like on Andre's side that he wants to explore different music, right? Like he just put out a flute
Mhm.
album that either won a Grammy or is up for a Grammy. Whereas Big Boy is still in his style, is still southern bump rap, like straightforward. Kill Jill's one of the best slept on tracks I've heard in a long time. That came out, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago at this point.
Wow.
Um, so Big Boy's still doing great things in rap when he does put out something, but he's also just an Atlanta guy. Hangs out here. He's got a dog breedery, a pit bull breedery. Um, he's at all the Atlanta, like any kind of Atlanta game, you're gonna see him. So at some point during the season doing something. He's kind of just accepted his place in Atlanta's well, probably the biggest Atlanta superstar that we have to offer, I would think. Whereas
Mm,
Andre's a little more laid back and kind of seems like he wants to explore music. This is the last, as far as both of them rapping on tracks, and you getting kind of the yin and yang of those two. This is the last album you get that on
mm,
because you get to Speaker Box and Love Below, and it is very much separated. Where this almost feels at times like Andre versus Big Boy, where they're challenging each other, and each verse seems like kind of a competition of who can outdo the other.
mm.
Um, whereas you don't really get that with Speaker Box and Love Below or Idlewild. I was happy. I got to see Outkast in 2014. It's one of the last live shows they did in Atlanta. I don't know that I will ever get to see them again unless they do some kind of reunion tour coming off of this Hall of Fame, which, by the way, this album is 25 years old, November 11th of this year, and they're getting inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on November 8th. So I'm assuming we're going to hear a lot of this in their performance. That'll be I mean, if you ended it all there, I think it was fine. For me, if Outcast ended on Friday, September 26, 2014, I would have been fine with it because I got to see it. You know, uh, it's that
Right.
I don't know that it's ever going to be better than it was then for me. So it's kind of one of those things where they do have the happy ending. They both seem happy. I would love another Outcast album. I just don't think another Outcast album will sound like this album or the albums before that. It'll be more like kind of what you're talking about where it'll be kind of different. It's almost like I would almost prefer to hear another Goody Mob album or a full-on Dungeon Family album with both those guys interacting maybe on tracks together at some point. But
Oh, interesting. Do you foresee them performing at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame together or no?
I think they have to, right?
I don't know if they have to. They could choose not to. I'd be interested to see what happens.
Well, you got to think the last time I saw them play was 2014, so
Mhm.
they hadn't done anything, and at that point, Idlewild would have came out in 2000, either 2005 or 2006.
2006, yeah.
So they had at that point they hadn't done anything in 8 years, right? And they performed those three shows in Atlanta and then kind of rode off into the sunset and went on about their separate ways. I think they could do 3 or 4 songs. I would assume with it coming up on the 25th anniversary of this album, they will at the very least play Bombs Over Baghdad. I could be wrong, but like they're one of the headliners of this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class.
So, you have thoughts on this? You and I have talked about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before, I'm sure. I know we have. Like, do you get very wrapped up in the name of this Hall of Fame? Should it be the Music Hall of Fame? Do you care one way or the other?
No, because at some point rap stars became more influential than rock stars.
Mm,
So the term rock and roll, like at some point, rock and rolls to me could mean a lot of different things, right? You want to call it the Music Hall of Fame, that's fine. There is a separate Hall of Fame just for hip hop,
mhm,
but they're selling tickets. It's like the WWE Hall of Fame, right? Like it's at the end of the day, it's about this big show and performance. So the more artists you can get to come together, the more fun it is for me to watch, right? There's tons of artists that are already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that I love. But I have no problem with like Outkast or Salt and Pepper or I don't know. I mean, I guess if you just hate hip hop or rap, you can make the argument that this is you almost come off sounding ignorant when you start doing this, Tom, to some
Oh,
extent,
for sure. Yeah.
where
Yeah.
where you're like, oh well, it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not the this and this. And I think, well, music's evolved. Like that's kind of what I was getting at is at some point, rap and hip hop has become more popular than rock,
Hmm.
right? So like how many of
Hmm.
these rock bands are you going to put in to a Hall of Fame at like over the past 20 years? Are we
I
going to
mean, over
have
the past 20 years, who even's out there rock and roll over the past 20
I
years?
mean you got your like the Killers of the world, right?
Uh-huh.
The Dashboard Confessionals, your Nickelbacks, your Creeds, your
Oh
Matchbox
God.
20s. Do you get what I'm saying? Like we're talking
Sure.
about the big ones.
Yeah.
Like the bands that like would have if we're just talking about album sales and stuff, like those are the bands you're looking at that would be after these generations roll through would be next up for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Are they more rock and roll than Outkast?
Mm.
Even musically on this album, are any of those bands? So I guess I just look at it like good music's good music. If you want to call it the
Yeah.
Music Hall of Fame, I don't care. I think it's fun to see all of these acts get together and perform one last time when they're able. Obviously, not all of them are able. Uh, I'm assuming Outkast will do something though. To answer the initial question, yes, I am fully expecting a performance. I don't expect anything to come after that. I don't expect them to do a 25-year anniversary Stankonia tour, which would be what most bands would do.
Mhm.
But it's Outkast. They're not going to do that.
And also, we should say, the louder that you are about this should only be a rock and roll Hall of Fame, the wider you sound. Like whether you mean whether you mean to or not, you're really coming off like the white guy in the room. Like I don't personally care. Like it doesn't really matter to me. I can't say that was always my opinion. If I'm being blunt, it wasn't always my opinion, but like this Hall of Fame, I have evolved over the years, and I don't have the same opinions I had 20 years ago on a lot of different things. So yeah, my tastes have changed, my opinions have evolved, for better or worse, depending on who you ask. But no, I agree with you. I don't see what all the nonsense is about. And like, dude, here's something else for you. In terms of like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I love what you said about one last performance. Cool and the Gang got in. Did you see this past Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Cool and the Gang effing crushed it. Lead singer, can't remember his name. I don't think that guy, his voice sounds like he just came out. And I'm like, how does your voice sound so insanely good? Like, right? Like, dude, his voice has not aged at all. That they did fantastic at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah, the only thing about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that kind of bothers me is when they have people that have hit a certain age, they start doing these covers of industry plants like Jelly Roll. Like if you want to
Yeah.
complain about the Rock and Roll
Yeah.
Hall of Fame, Jelly Roll doing an Ozzy song, not where I want to be in life as far as watching a performance.
Same.
But it is great when you get to see, the band give one last hurrah, or even some semblance of a band like with other members like Dave Grohl or Tom Morello, whichever guy that they pull up from the '90s, early 2000s to play in the band, which
That's
seems
it
to
exactly.
which seems
Yeah.
to happen quite often as well. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is supposed to be fun. You're not supposed to. It's not the end all be all. There's not. I don't know. Is there an official ballot that people vote on for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Like, how much of that is just like what show can we put together? I
I
don't.
think it's industry insiders that vote. Am I wrong about that?
I mean, you. I don't know. Is it? Is that what they? Is
Man.
that or is that just what they tell us? What is
Well,
the?
that's a good point.
The sarcastic butthole that I am. I
Sure.
can't help but think like this is a gimmick, brother. Who can we get to be? Who can we get to be on the show? And
Right.
and I mean, at some point, like I said, there's only so many people. Every 30 years, right from your first album release, you can get inducted. Well, how many rock and roll bands from 30 years can you induct on the first ballot. Eventually, you have to spread out to other music. You have no choice. Otherwise, you're just going
Yeah.
to start getting into weird, like, not bad, but like weird things that a lot of people don't know. So, I mean, that's why hip hop is involved in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The
Right.
last 30 years, as we move forward, it's going to be harder and harder to find straight rock bands over the last 30 years that have made a huge cultural impact. You're going to get the wave. You're going to get the wave of all the new metal guys next. So your Corns, your Limp Bizkits, your Deftones, your System of not that all these bands are new metal, but you get what I'm saying. That time period of
Mm-hmm.
like hard rock will be the next thing, and
Ooh,
then
Soundgarden, Pearl Jam. Yeah, dude.
well, yeah, yeah. So Soundgarden's going in this year as well.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's yeah. So I mean that's kind of where it's at, is like you're eventually going to run out of stuff to induct, right? Unless you're putting in third or fourth. Like, are we going to put in the Blues Travelers like as fourth ballot Hall of Famers?
Yeah.
I like the Blues Travelers. Nothing against the Blues Travelers, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you're
Yeah.
gonna you have to expand because music has changed. Music has changed so much so quickly
Yeah.
that you can't just eliminate. Like, it makes sense that you would include hip hop. So that's my feelings on it. I'm sure there'll be someone yelling uh,
There's
in,
always someone yelling. By
into
the
a
way,
into a void. I don't care though. Just as a heads up, it doesn't matter to me.
it doesn't matter to me. Yeah. Speaking of void, if I had to listen to that John Popper do that harmonica the way he played it, I'd just throw him down an elevator shaft. I couldn't stand it. Just, you know what I mean? Where it sound like a, I don't know what I want to call it. Sound like a clarinet or something at some point. I'm like, all right, that's enough. God, put the thing down. I don't know.
I don't know, man. The hook is such a
Stand it.
great song that I give John Popper a pass. That's such a well written song, lyrically and
Lyrically, you're
musically.
100% right.
It's a great song.
Yeah. Yeah. Just put the freaking microphone.
So put him in already. We put Dave Matthews
good man.
Band in. The Blues Travelers should be in. I'm kidding. You know what I'm saying though? Like, it's all opinion.
Sure.
It's all opinion.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I think the only criteria that I can recall for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is that you have to have been a band that existed for like at least 25 years, I think is the number. I'm sure we talked about this before, but I don't. Again, they loosen things to the point I don't even know if that's the case anymore. By the way, speaking of Outkast, who we're actually supposed to be talking about, but I got us off course with this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing. They only released 6 albums. Like, I know you know that, but for me to say that out loud blows my mind. 6 albums, not 10, not 12, but 6. And they stand out, dude. Like, their stuff can't really be touched. And, for so many artists after the fact to talk about what, inspirations they were to them and the stuff that these guys, did together and the milestones they hit. Dude, 6 albums. That just blows me away, man.
Yeah, and it's 6 in very short succession.
Yeah.
It's just such a short time period. Like, you like I said, what, 94, 95 is their first album.
94 and then 2006 was the last
we're
one.
wrapped at 2006. So 12 years for 6 albums. 12 years, 6 albums. That's an album a year plus touring back in the day and music videos, etc. That's, especially considering the quality of those albums. Some people might yell about Idlewild, which is kind of a weird concept album. I personally like that album. But outside of that, like, that's good quality work for 6 years. And that's not including other things that they showed up on. So
Yeah, and they won 6 Grammys total. Of course, this one, Stankonia being Best Rap Album. So 6 Grammys, and of course, MTV Music Awards. If that means anything to anybody, I've never really cared about that.
So keep in mind their competition for best Grammy for Grammy would have been Ja Rule's Rule 336. Ludacris is back for the first time. Mystical's Let's Get Ready. 3-6 Mafia When the Smoke Clears. I don't know if all these were nominated, but I'm giving you the high list of albums that came out this year. And Ice Cube's War and Peace Volume 2. So out of those albums, especially knowing Country Grammar and Rule 336 like very well, the only one that would have been even in competition would have been the Marshall Mathers LP, which is kind of its own weird thing. The beginning of Eminem, not his first album, but kind of his rise to what would become Eminem.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. And I'm not a big Ja Rule guy. I know when someone's trying to do a DMX impression when I hear it. I don't care what anybody says. I just don't care. Like,
It's great
you know
when
what I
him and
mean?
it's Murder where it's him and DMX on the same track.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's the overload. It's so good.
It's overload.
Love
Yeah,
it.
and it's if you listen to the when he first hit, like he didn't sound like that. What are we doing? Like, come on, man. Just that I was never a Ja Rule guy. Never been an Eminem guy either. I got respect for the dude, but I can't say I've ever put on an Eminem album and listened because I haven't. I never have. It's just never really been my thing.
So this is also a weird year for rap because there was two albums that kind of overshadowed this particular year until Stankonia came out, which would be
Mhm.
Dr. Dre's 2001 absolute classic and DMX, and then there was X
Mm.
absolute classic. So those
Yeah.
actually rolled into the charts of this year. When I was doing research on this, because I was like, when did these albums come out? Because I'm remembering as a 12-year-old, right? Like all of this stuff
Jeez.
being played at the same time on the radio specifically, and it's like, man, what a great time to be alive. Get listen to some Dre, get listen to DMX, good stuff.
Yeah, man. Where'd the time go? Where'd the time go and what happened? What happened? We sound like the old dudes in the room and it upsets me. But like what happened? I don't know. I don't know. Um yeah, another top for another time. Well, kids, this album is massive. And counting the interludes, there's 24 tracks here. So, what you're listening to today, and I'm calling an audible, what you're listening to today is going to be part 1 because we want to be able to do this thing justice. And if I start talking really, really fast and try to cram 24 songs into 35, 40 minutes, I feel like we're kind of taking a crap on this album. And I definitely don't want to do that. So let's talk about, first of all, we have an intro here. The intro and the interludes. I got one thing to say to you, Chris, about these interludes and this intro is break. They were infatuated with the sports metaphor on this album. They did it, I think, in every interlude, didn't they?
Something, yeah. So when I re-listen to this, I generally skip the interludes.
Yeah, same.
Uh, they probably were cool at the time, but it's the same thing. This was just huge during this time period. Another Atlanta rapper, if you go back and listen to Ludacris, his freshman album, which was the one that kind of comes along at the same time, the same year, which is I'm going to get the name for it here. I just said it earlier. Back for the First Time.
Yeah.
Also has like 3 interludes on it. So that's just this time in hip hop had interludes. But
Jay did it, X did it. Yeah, it was a thing for
yeah,
sure.
well, at least DMX's were fun because they were like prayers, which is always fun when he's like, "Lord, it is you. He puts me up every day."
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I love DMX, by the way. It's not
I
criticism
do
to
too. He's
DMX,
a
but
legend.
DMX's prayers are better interludes than the interludes on this album. You do get some really weird background music on these interludes, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. DMX, man, we covered him in the archives. He's in the archives, and after he passed, it's just one of those things. Like we got to talk about DMX, so we did. But like, you're right. Even his interludes were number one could be entertaining, but number two could be really good. Very interesting guy, very different kind of guy. Not in the same way that Andre 3000 and Big Boy are. Like different in another way, but like as we start into this album, man, because God, there's so much to talk about here with these guys. Like I want to do disservice to anything here. I have to say that Outkast is one of the most unique acts, especially for this genre of music. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to stereotype anybody, but Chris, once upon a time, if there was more than one rapper on stage, they were hardcore, and it was gangster rap, and it was in your face, and it was at the police, and they're getting arrested after the show or whatever, and they're burning the records, and you see these guys, and man, they're just having fun. Like they know they're very good at what they do. And by the way, just so everybody's clear, it's okay to be the other guys. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying this is different, man. These guys just seem to care more about the musicianship of their records than they did really anything else, I think.
I mean, I think part of that comes from being from Atlanta and there not being a whole lot of music coming out of here and
Mm,
having to make something different that's not East Coast or West Coast, right?
mm,
I think a lot
mm.
of that comes, and you'll hear it throughout the album, the references to Atlanta and Georgia, and this being an absolute staple if you're, from my hometown, for sure. I mean, I think that's a big part of it is is that, and just being different, like trying
Mhm.
to be different than everything else that's pumped out. Because once, like you call the gangster rapper, your NWAs, your Public Enemies of the time period, they're important for a different reason. Whereas
Sure.
Outkast is arts more artsy, more jazz in a world of a lot. Because by this
Yeah.
point, you're not gonna, we're talking 2000. You're not gonna out gangster rap DMX, right?
Right. Never gonna happen. Yeah.
So like, or when they're when they say Southside something to say, their album's completely different than what else would have been up at the time, which would have been Tupac, Biggie, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
So they paved their way of being different because they had to sound different. They had to not sound like everything else or it wouldn't have worked.
Mhm. Had to stand out. You gotta stand out. Like music, like if you're a writer, if you're a poet, if you're a wrestler, you gotta find a way to stand out or no one's gonna know that you're even there. Like, yeah, that's well said.
And I meant
The
to
f
bring this up earlier, but they did so
Mhm.
leading into this when they got the money from the studio to record this album, instead of just paying for studio time, they bought Bobby Brown's studio so they could do round the clock recording. So there was a lot of care and effort and long hours put into this album in general versus your typical album where you go in and you're paying for studio time. They bought the studio, which is Stankonia Studios.
Isn't that something? And I'm sure long hours were put in, had to have been, especially like I said, you don't have to worry about paying for studio time.
Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com.
If you're a creator, you can't just create something and walk away from it, brother. It's not possible. Like create something and then you touch it 147 times and then in the end you kind of only put it out because you're like, yeah, well, I got to stop touching it. So let's just put it out because that's kind of for those creators that are that meticulous, that's kind of who they like Q-Tip, that's kind of who he is. Like Q-Tip would still to this day go back and change albums because he could hear things that nobody could hear because the guy's a freaking genius. And he was just a perfectionist, man. But like you said, I imagine a lot of long hours were put into this album for sure.
Yeah, and it kind of led the way to other rappers doing that from Atlanta as well. Like Two Chains has his own studio space, Future has his own
Mm,
studio space. Like it became, if you were a popular Atlanta rapper, you kind of own your own studio, which is it's just funny to think
it
about.
is fun. So the first real track on this album is track number 2, first real song, I should say. Gasoline Dreams. Cujo Goody is on this. 3 minutes 34 seconds. Can't believe this wasn't a single. Also, can't believe this wasn't a video. I freaking love this tune. Both guys are on this tune, of course. What do you think about Gasoline Dreams?
It's a brilliant song. Everybody want a Cadillac with a sunroof black and 100 spokes. It's critiquing the materialism and what is thought of as the American dream. As much
Mhm.
as this album tends to do, it leans very heavy into what what the expectation of what rappers like, political climate, uh, how Atlanta is different than the rest of the world as far as hip
Mhm.
hop goes. This song leans heavy into that, and it is a great song. This song could have been a single if they wanted it to be, but when you're talking about broad reaching the larger audience, I think they kind of knocked it out with the three that they released.
Yeah, there would have been some editing on this one to make it radio friendly for sure. Just in the first verse, gotta edit that. Gotta edit that. Gotta edit that. Yeah, gotta edit that too. Yeah.
But as far as a starting track, it's great. It's a great piece of work. I listened to it 2 times today,
Mhm.
so it still holds up.
It does hold up. Yeah. Gasoline Dreams describes the corrupted problems of modern life, including drugs, racism, pollution, and immorality. But it promises an apocalyptic solution, the end of the world and the judgment of mankind by God. So there you go.
Yeah, burn it all down.
Nice.
Like I said, the critiquing materialism and what is the American dream versus the actuality of life.
Hmm. Man, I really like this tune.
It's a good one.
I'm listening. I'm listening to it right now, actually, and in my ear. And man, it's a good tune.
there's
Really, really
there's
good.
very few bad songs on this album. This is one of those albums I can definitely put on. Like I say, if you take out and there are versions on Spotify where it's a created playlist, you take out some of the interludes. This is one I
Hmm.
can listen to all the way through.
Yeah, same,
Easy.
same. Yeah, really good stuff here. Yeah. Don't everybody like the smell of gasoline? Will burn. MF or burn. American Dreams. Don't everybody like the taste of apple pie? Well, don't everybody like the taste of apple pie? Will snap for your slice of life. I'm telling you why. That's a good. I like that. That double. I like that. I hear that Mother Nature's now on birth control. Coldest pimp be looking for somebody to hold. The highway up to heaven got a crook on the toll. Dude, I like that. That's good.
Yeah. It's a heck of a way to start off. And this also, it's a good intro track because coming off of the last album, it would fit on that album as
Yeah.
well. Where the rest of this album gets way different.
Yeah,
In
it does. It
in
really
in,
does.
in a good way. In a good way. If you could listen to those 2 albums back to back, you'd be like, oh, okay, just continuing on.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking about X, this kind of sounds like something that would fit in. So it's sort of X's style, where it's like it's not. I mean, yeah, it's got a great beat, but it's not necessarily like a hip hop beat, and there's a lot of stuff happening in the background, and like Andre's almost shouting these lyrics, but man, it's really really good. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's punk rock metal feel to it,
yeah, yeah,
which I always say DMX is the metal of rap.
he is.
If you were gonna say one rapper is a metal artist, it would be DMX.
Has to be DMX. Yeah, has to be. A couple months ago, they gave Outkast the key to the city, but I still got to pay my taxes, and they give us no pity. That's wonderful. Yeah. They think they monsters. They love us reality rapping and giving the youth the truth from this booth. Yeah, it's great. Really good tune. Still surprised it wasn't a single. So after this, we've got another interlude, kids. This is I'm Cool, 42 seconds. We're just going to breeze past the interludes, kids, and you can feel free to check those out at your leisure and either enjoy those or skip them, whatever it is you'd like to do. Track number 4. This is So Fresh, So Clean at 4 minutes even. And is this is going to be tough to answer, Chris, because I don't know if I'm right or wrong or if I'm even close. Is this their most well-known mainstream hit, or am I off on that?
No, I mean off of this album.
Sure.
Oh, that's tough.
That's tough,
I don't
right?
know. Mine's gonna be jaded because I'm from Atlanta, so it's I don't know. I this song in Miss Jack, you could do a coin flip. It'd be one
Mhm.
of those 2, I would think.
I think you're right. What do you think about this one, by the way? Because me, I prefer the next one, but are you backwards or are you the same? What do you think about this?
I love this song. I mean, I think it's a fun song. Uh, it's definitely referencing their sense of fashion, right?
Mhm.
Also, we get some Waffle House references, which I always appreciate.
It's a
Got
fun video
Gator
too.
belts and Patty Melts and Monte Carlos. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a fun song. There's not this song here is not one of the deeper lyrical songs, but it's not meant to be. It's literally just talking about their sense of style, which is Andre kind of this is where he starts really leaning into the wearing wigs and almost more of a Prince P Funk vibe going on with Andre.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, well said. The beat is from Organized Noise, Three Stacks, and Daddy Fat Sax. And yeah, the video is very fun. And let's see, on the chorus, Sleepy Brown and Rico Wade on the chorus. Yeah, and it's I just never I don't dislike the tune. I like it fine, but I definitely don't prefer it to the next track. Like, still a good song. To me, it's gonna sound weird because Outkast can do anything in terms of their sound. This one never really hit hard enough for me. Does that make sense? Like, I wanted to hit hard, and it really didn't. Not in my head anyway.
I really want this song and Elevators put together as a
Hmm.
track. So Elevators, and then it rolls right into So Fresh and So Clean. I don't know why, but when I hear those two songs, I'm like, yeah. If I was gonna put them on, I would put them on a playlist together if it was me.
Interesting. Yeah, kind of like with the Zeppelin. Was it Living Loving Maid, and then what was the one they always put next to it? And they put them next to each other on the album after the fact because radio stations played those two songs together off the Zoso album, which is very funny to me.
Yeah, I think you could do the same, like you could do Elevators leading into this,
Hmm.
and it would work fine.
Yeah, great references in here too. Teddy Pendergrass, cooler than Freddie Jackson, sipping a milkshake in a snowstorm. Cooler than Freddie Jackson, sipping a milkshake in a snowstorm.
Yeah, which is kind of a throwback to AC Aliens, which is cooler than a polar bear's townnails. He likes to make
Yep.
he's like Mr. Freeze over here with his
Well
references on
done.
being cool. I will just go ahead and say Big Boy is my favorite. So as we go through this, of the two, as much as I love Andre and respect Andre and how important he is to the band, I am a Big Boy guy. I'm one of the few out there.
I was gonna say I'm definitely an Andre guy, but I think again we did the speaker box Love Below on the show, and like Big Boy, I think really, if I say came into his own, it sounds weird. He was already established, but man, his tracks on that album, dude, he owned those tracks. Like he was so good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Good stuff here. But again, I don't really prefer this one. The next track number 5 at 4 minutes 30 seconds, Miss Jackson. Now this one I prefer over So Fresh, So Clean. And this one is saying a lot of stuff and gets a lot more deeper in terms of their songwriting, which I'm sure this is not the first time they did it. It won't be the last. So Miss Jackson, I think it's got to be one of the most well-known songs, isn't it? For sure.
For sure. And the video is really cool with the owls and rebuilding the house with the pouring rain. I mean, it's iconic. It's an apology to his ex-mother-in-law, Erica Badu's mom, Andre.
There you go.
So for those of you who didn't know that, I found that out today. I did not know that my entire life until today. But there you go. That's out there.
Yeah, they said things in interviews before. I watched a couple of different interviews with him about this album and stuff, and they were tongue in cheek talked about Erica Badu, but it turns out it's true. It's 100% true. Yeah.
This section is very much, it's got Strawberry Letter 23 being sampled in it, as well as the Bride song, the Here Comes the Bride, which you'll hear if you listen very closely at about 3:29 mark.
Yeah.
You'll hear a ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding, ding. And then the piano goes back into that, which is kind of crazy because it is talking about going through a divorce. Pretty much,
Right.
being on the outside looking in, right? Like it's kind of it's a very, very good song. Very good song.
It is insanely well written.
Forever, forever, ever. Forever, ever.
Never, and never, ever. Yeah.
Kanye would later reference that.
Well, we're not talking about that guy. He's not even called that anymore, is he? What's he calling himself now?
I have no idea. He just issued an apology for being anti-Semitic. So that's what Kanye is doing.
Well, that's 10 years in the making, isn't it? What happened? Yeah. This is the second single from Stankonia, Miss Jackson is, and let's see, reaching the top 5 in several countries, becoming their first of 3 number 1 songs on the Billboard Hot 100. Won the Grammy for the Best Rap Performance by a Duo Group in 2002. The name Jackson was chosen because the pair felt it is one of the most common names that people could relate to. I agree with that. And as you said, Chris, the Erica Badu reference. And let's see, Andre said, quote, Miss Jackson came from just wondering after a relationship kind of goes to left about a parent of a girl who has a child. Like, how does she feel about the situation? And that's what birthed the song, end quote. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. Love this
Some
song.
great lines in this song too, for sure.
Yeah.
She need to get a piece of American pie and take her bite out. That's my house. I'll disconnect the cable and turn the lights out.
Isn't that great?
And let her know her grandchild is a baby, not a paycheck. Private school daycare. Medical
Yeah,
bills, I'll pay that.
medical bills. I'll pay that. Yeah, I think Big Boy really stands out on this track, man.
He
For
does.
sure.
And the emotion in his voice comes through.
Yeah,
That's one thing you don't get as much of with Andre is kind of vocal emotion and stuff in his raps.
that's
But
fair. Yeah, he's usually just sort of down to the point. Yeah, man, this is a good tune. The writing is it's absolute poetry for sure. Miss Jackson, my intentions were good. I wish I could become a magician to abracadabra all the sadder. Thoughts of me, thoughts of she, thoughts of he. Dude, that's awesome.
I prayed so much about it. Need some knee pads.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can't happen for a reason. One can't be mad. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the hits that they put out on this album are just so well done. I'd be curious to know, like, I don't know if it's ever been asked in an interview, is like, how long did they spend writing it, or did it just come, like, did it flow out? Because it's always weird with certain songs, like even as a songwriter myself, you never know. Like, it might take you a year to write something that's really good, or you might do it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point. So in Vibe magazine, this a few years after the song was released, Andre 3000 recalled creating the song. It was an acoustic guitar song that he was doing at home, and he converted it over into something people could understand a little bit more. We know about the inspiration. Yeah, it sounds like it was fairly simple. Of course it was, because like the biggest hits of these bands, you know what I mean? Sometimes they come from out of nowhere. They just start very simply and they become huge hits.
Yeah, so he brings this into the studio, right?
Mhm,
And then,
mhm.
like, how much time does Big Boy spend on it? Because I
That's
would
a
say
good
Big
question.
Boy's lyrics are closer to home in the song, which is kind of crazy, right?
It is.
Like, his is talking about the actual divorce that he just went through, which he talks about when I saw him live. He talked about it.
Mm.
So it's kind of, I don't know. It's really weird. There's some good, like I said, there's some really cool also instrumentation in this. You get some cool get a bridge transaction, like cool bridge transition, lots of funk
Yeah.
guitar, um, synthesizer applying over top of that. And like I said, you're mixing the "Here Comes the Bride." Like, now that people have heard me say that, go listen to it, and you'll hear it like coming through in the same verse that we were talking about, that Big Boy's talking about. While he's saying all of that, you're getting this funked out version of "Here Comes the Bride" over top of it.
Mhm.
So, like, the juxtaposition between the lyrics and what's going on, and him rebuilding like, especially if you're watching the music video of him in the rain trying to fix a roof, right?
Right.
Uh, that there's no fixing. There's like 40 buckets. That's the whole purpose of the
It's
video,
not
right? Like,
right. Yeah, it's a whole song. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Erica Badu didn't have the best response. She had mixed feelings. When she heard Andre's verse, she felt very good because his verse was inspiring. Didn't have the best reaction to Big Boy's verse. Said it kind of hit a sore spot. I didn't want to hear that, but said her mom loved it so much that her mom got a Miss Jackson license plate for her car. She had the mug, she had the ink pen, she had the headband, everything.
yeah, I mean, I don't know that. As far as I know, Big Boy's verse has nothing to do with Erica Badu, but who knows?
That's a good point. Yeah, but
Like,
maybe we don't know.
the way that he talked about it was his own, he had his own stuff going on when I saw him live. So
Right, right, right.
I can only go off what was said when I saw him live that time.
Sure. Well, let's see. After that, kids, we've got track number 6. which is Snapping and Trapping with Killer Mike and Jay Sweet at 4 minutes 19 seconds.
The debut
This
of Killer Mike.
is it the debut? I didn't know that.
This is the track debut of Killer Mike. He would go on to also have a single that was not put out on this album, The Whole World. And there's a line in The Whole World where he says, "Catch the beat running like Randy Moss." That's also in the debut of Bump in the Trunk, which was the single from Monster, the album he did after this. So that was all. He was part of the Dungeon family. Obviously, he went on to do Run the Jewels, which I'm assuming everyone knows at this point. But this is the record debut of Killer Mike.
That Randy Moss line. I've always loved that line.
I guess I'd be running like Randy Moss.
Yeah. One of the few, this is one of the few songs from the first 4 Outkast albums to feature Big Boy, but not Andre. And instead, as we said, Big Boy trades bards with what they call his protege in Killer Mike. So I don't dislike this track, but I'll say that Big Boy's doing a lot of work on this. How in the world you don't need a nap after this song? Because man, when he raps, buddy, it just sounds like he punches in for work. And I mean that in the best possible way. It just sounds like he's doing so much work when he raps, man. Do you know what I mean?
For sure. He did this live with Killer Mike. I saw him play. It was Goody Mob, Big Boy was the closing act. So they did do some Outkast stuff, but it was mostly songs like this that were heavily featured with Big Boy or shortened versions of Outkast songs you would know. Mm-hmm. It is crazy the amount of work he puts on. Also, he puts on one heck of a live show, and we share the last name, Pat. So,
well, there you go. There's some lyrics here I won't repeat, but they're quite inventive. I bet you, like his words, not mine, kids. I bet you I'll drill your heifer like a Black and Decker. I know it's foul, but man, it's fun. It's
the time. Tis the time period.
Tis the time period. Yeah.
I don't know that he would change it.
Yeah, like I got
the song is called "Snapping and Trapping."
Well, that's fair.
And trap music in itself, coming out of this, has not gotten lyrically better. If you've listened to some 2 Chainz or Future. It is its own thing.
Well, like, you talked about maybe not wanting to change it. Like, I got on a Scott Weiland kick a few weeks back and just binged a lot of STP and Velvet Revolver and found an STP, like when he got back with STP near the end where they had a concert, and I forget where it was. And it's fantastic. It's on YouTube. It's free. It's fantastic. But they did Sex Type Thing. And I kept kind of waiting for him to kind of slur his words or maybe change a lyric. And he didn't. He just sang it. And I'm like, these are grown men. These are no longer 20-somethings. Like, I'm sure that's not, like, that song was a little date rapey. Let's be honest. Right? Maybe it's just the way it hits my ears, but it's never really been something I'd want to play for a girlfriend or something. But like, it's part of their discography. It's what the fans want to hear. And it's like, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're that guy. It's just a song. Like, people get bent out of shape. And Chris, I can't see, if I sat here and told you songs didn't affect me in certain ways, I'd be lying. But at the end of the day, they're just like a book. They're just like a comic book. They're just like anything else. They're just like a movie. It's just a song. Like if it offends you or whatever, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Now, what I will say is this is more of a Killer Mike song than a Big Boy song. So the line that you're talking about is Killer Mike. There is no Andre on this track, as far as I'm aware. It's just
there's not
Big Boy and Killer Mike. So this is like I said, this is the debut track of Killer Mike, whose style changed after this. Now if you listen to Killer Mike, it's completely different. But you got to think about the time period of this. Killer Mike also being more. I could see that he's Big Boy's protege or whatever, but he's taking things way further than Big Boy. Big Boy has, he says things, but not like this. Not the way that Killer Mike is goop. There's one line is like goop, gop, gravy, dicking her down or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Like that is more. But it also has some great lines like, "I'm guaranteed to never Swiss cheese for more cheddar. I give a 5 suede bucks and kooky sweaters." So it is this is falling more to me. This like that sounds more like Juicy J from 3 6 Mafia than it does Big
Ooh,
Boy. But
yeah,
which, like I said, that album would have been came out the week before this album. So in my mind, and then when you get to Killer Mike's Monster album, it's way more dialed back than that.
right.
This verse. This sounds like Killer Mike came into the studio, started rapping, and they're like, "Hey, let's do a track," and then they put it on this album, and it ended up being the debut of Killer Mike.
That makes sense, actually. And not for nothing, it's his opportunity to kind of shine and show off a little bit, which he did really well here.
Yeah, you get there is a rhythmic flow to Killer Mike on almost every track and you will hear it really specifically in The Whole World, which isn't on this album, but I always
Mhm.
associate with this album because the tracks off this album were still continuing their popularity by the time Whole World came out in 2003.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, it's very rhythmic in the way he raps and delivery. You hear that here.
Whole World was my first real like exposure to Outkast, believe it or not. For whatever reason, I don't even have a reason why, but it was that video just knocked me out. And a buddy of mine sent it to me or asked me about it. I forget what it was.
And you get
And
the full extended Andre actually singing more so than Sorry Miss Jackson. That's really bridging the gap to what would become Speaker Box and Level Up.
that's really a good point. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, man. Just being able to watch the evolution of an artist over X number of albums is really a fascinating thing to do. And like, if you're paying attention, you'll see that breadcrumbs are being dropped along the way where you see how a guy or gal comes out in the end where you're like, man, look where they were 2 albums ago. You can kind of see them heading in that direction. Makes sense. So the next tune, well, we've got an interlude again at number 7. This is an interlude heavy album there, kids. But we've
They are
also
all short, to be fair.
they are all short. Yeah, there's 27 seconds, 42 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, they're fairly short. The next one is a tune I really, really dig. This is track number 8. This is Spaghetti Junction, 3 minutes, 57 seconds. I love this. To me, this has an Idlewild sound and feel to it with the horns and everything. I really dig this tune, man. This cut samples of Simon Harris's FX and scratches and compares the modern day plight of the black man to a long, winding highway. It's very subtle, is the sample being a simple sound effect with some scratching added. I really love this, man. Again, don't know how this didn't make a single, but I'm here for this. It's one of my favorite songs on the album, actually.
This is a big Atlanta hit, Spaghetti Junction being here. The fun saying is that if you can survive Spaghetti Junction during rush hour, you can survive anything.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, it is a wild, crazy ride. I don't know that I would make this. I would, I don't know that I would throw this as one that should have been a single, but it is locally, it's a great track for sure. I mean, it's tackling themes of identity and navigating through, urban struggles for sure, and putting that in correlation with Spaghetti Junction. But how much of the nation knows what Spaghetti Junction is?
No, that's fair.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a for those who don't know, from those not from Atlanta, it's just this really crazy highway interchange in Atlanta from I-285 and 85 that kind of cross over one another, and it just does this giant, I mean, spaghetti noodles kind of around the entire
Right,
entire
right.
city. So it's a metaphor for life's chaos. And if you're listening to this and you don't know what Spaghetti Junction is, just look up a picture of what it looks like from like the sky, and you'll be like, what? And then imagine that at, I don't know, 5:20 trying to get
Right,
home,
right.
and then you'll have a good picture of what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the lyrics are, I think I've said this twice now that I can't believe something didn't make it as a single. But yeah, there might be a little bit of editing having to be done here. Again, just to make things radio friendly.
Well, it's also one of those times we're looking back at it now in
Yeah.
2025 eyes. This is 2000 eyes. So at the same time, like DMX has hits on the radio.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, Limp Bizkit has hits on the like they're, Give Me Something to Break is being played on the radio, and they're cutting out, they would just overdub anything they didn't like with sound effects.
Mhm.
So it would have been possible to do, and I don't think it would have been out of place.
Sure.
In 2025, this album for sure. Well, I say that, and then you have songs like WAP that they find a way to get on the radio. So who knows?
Yeah, there's still some foul rap songs happening out there.
That's not a
I
bad thing, though. I think foul is important.
no. I think I've never believed in censorship. It's one thing to sit there and scream threats against a race or against a person. I mean, that's kind of a little bit different, but like if you're expressing yourself, even if someone doesn't want to hear it, well, guess what? Don't listen to it. Don't download it. Just plug your ears. Turn away from it. You don't have to freaking burn it. You don't have to arrest the guy. Like, I don't know.
Tom Clark's 6M podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark's 6M podcast sent you.
While something is not for me, I also am very aware that not everything is made for me. So I think everybody kind of has to maybe think of that sometimes. But it's again, I really like this song. The next one is another interlude, 1 minute 12 seconds. Kim and Cookie is another interlude here, and that takes us to track number 10. 4 minutes 18 seconds. I'll call before I come. I won't tell you how anything's spelled.
It is
Because I
spelled
won't-
differently when you Google search the track list, by the way, which I disapprove of. Don't change the album title.
Right, I didn't know that.
Title
Yeah.
of the track.
Gangsta Boo and Echo. Rashida is on this. And this is not basically. So, being the Southern gentlemen that they are, Big Boy and Dre promise to give their mistress a phone call before they show up for sex and give a warning before they get theirs during sex off of this album. This sounds like, in my head, I'm going back to the old fashioned like keyboard, like the Casio keyboard. You'd have that preset beat. That's what I hear throughout this whole song.
Like the 808, yeah, like an 808
Yes.
or something, yeah.
Yes.
For sure. It has that sound.
I mean,
it almost sounds like a click track at first. It sounds like they just left in a click track and then put the beat behind it, which is kind of weird. But yeah, I listened to this earlier and I thought the same thing. I was like, man, it's like it. To me, it sounds like when I use a click track when I'm recording a guitar part or something, and then they just added a beat behind it.
I mean, I'm a gentleman. I'm gonna satisfy your soul. And then I'm gonna get mine like Wimbledon. We back and forth across the court. I'm not gonna read the next line. Yeah, wow. But you know what? This is very much an Andre track. At least just his lyric, the way he performs it, just playful, fun. Don't take things too seriously, everybody. Just relax. It's just a rap song. But it's fun, man. This is another example, Chris, of how they could be one thing, but they could also be another thing. I think this is a good example of that.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
Is this one you said you don't really skip anything on the album? You just let this one play as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's a good song.
I like it. The first 2 lines of the song. Quit being so damn selfish. Put it in your pelvis. I mean, how you get those words to rhyme? But buddy, Big Boy did, or Andre did it. Put it that way.
I mean, we're getting to Andre's best verse on the album coming up here on this next track. So saving all my love for Andre for this next one.
Sure. The next track Chris is referring to at 5 minutes and 4 seconds could be. It's not the longest song on the album, but it's almost. This is Bombs Over Baghdad. And I don't know how you have ears that work and don't like this song. I don't understand it. I guess to each his own. If you don't like hip hop, it's fine. It's fine. But how it doesn't at least make you tap your foot is mind blowing to me. This is a freaking. I love this tune, man. And like, what's very cool is that Andre gave credit to Rage Against the Machine, who had later remixed this song and gave him inspiration to make the song, and said, I wouldn't have done Bombs Over Baghdad if it wasn't for Rage because I felt urgency in their music. So I was like, how can I add urgency to what we're doing? It doesn't sound like Rage, but it's the energy. I totally agree with that, dude.
Me too. And when I think about like hip hop songs or rap songs in general, this is the only one I can think of that has this fast paced
Mm.
of energy. Like almost to the point where it does not feel like a rap or hip hop song.
Yeah, you're right.
It's got so much going on instrumentationally too. You have lead guitar parts bleeding throughout the entire thing with synthesizers playing backing notes on top of it. You
Mm.
got kind of this like at points I almost want to call it like California punk drum beat, and then you'll get like marching band snares. Like the whole song, the energy it puts out is a crazy vibe. And if for anyone listening to this and never heard this song, definitely go put it on and you'll hear what I'm saying. But like if you're, I'm trying to think of other rap songs. I listen to a lot of hip hop throughout my life
Mm.
that have this same kind of raw energy. It's almost got like the like I don't know, like an Ace of Spades type feel, where you just have to
Oh,
throw yourself through a wall or something when you
yeah.
hear it. You know, like it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
drinking a Red Bull without drinking a Red Bull, or drinking a cup of coffee without drinking a cup of coffee. The amount of energy that's in the song,
Sure.
and it's not just the music that's going crazy. I like both Big Boy and Andre here. They strapped in vocally.
Yeah, they did. Man, what a great tune. And it only got as high as number 69 on the US Billboard R&B hip hop songs chart. And it did go platinum, which is good. The video is very fun. And like seeing those two guys side by side in the video and just doing their thing, like it just takes you back to that time period when everybody was, when the group was together and they were cool. Again, not that they're not cool now, but like, they were outcasts then and like, man, young and hungry and just crushing it and certified stars. And man, what a time, dude. What a fun time.
Also, Brown College Gospel Choir in this chorus adds to that energy. I just want to throw that out there. The full choir
Fantastic.
yelling "Bombs Over Baghdad" is great.
Fantastic. Yeah. Rapid fire, psychedelic, bass pounding monster of a song is how it's been described. More of a commentary on the condition of the ghetto that incorporates a few political references to get its point across. And but with the occurrence of the September 11th attacks 1 year after its release, Bombs Over Baghdad became an anthem during the Iraq War, which I don't know how to feel about that.
It did for
Like,
sure, but I mean, so this is like a crazy thing that I've talked to my nieces about. The coming together that America had during this time period against any other country after 2011
mm-hmm,
is such a
mm-hmm,
weird thing. It's the
true.
first real attack on America since Pearl Harbor. So trying to put that in perspective, it's not just this song. Like Wilco's "Jesus, Etc." came out like a day or two after that, and people relate that song to 9/11. It has nothing to do with 9/11. So there's just a lot of that. Because this album in general, these three hits off this album were still playing in rotation, like I said, up until Whole World came out in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you used to have a lot more holdover on popular songs than we do now. This song is
Yeah.
not about bombing Baghdad, though.
No, not at all.
It's more of a political song than a. I mean, it is a political song, but it's not in reference to 9/11, which I have heard that in the past. It's like that's really cool that they wrote that song. I was like, this song came out before 9/11, like a whole year or almost a full year.
Consequences are given for living. The fence is too high to jump in jail. The fence is too high to jump in jail. Too low to dig. I might just touch hell. Hot. Get a life. Now they on sale. Then I might cast you a spell. Look at what came in the mail. A scale and some arm and hammer. Soul gold grill and a baby mama. Black Cadillac and a pack of Pampers.
Kill for cancer, kill for AIDS. Make man stay
Yeah,
out on
stack.
2 for days. Get back home.
Yeah, yeah,
Things are
yeah.
wrong. uh,
Man,
Big Boy's verse on here is really cool because they do this like weird bridge part with it's digitized, so I'm assuming it's a synthesizer, but it has this like and he's rapping over top of that, which is insane.
it is.
But yeah, I generally remember Big Boy's verses at this speed are usually the easier for me to remember, so I remember more of that off the top of the head. than,
Well, and to the point of we've been talking the whole episode here about how these guys, considered legends and rightfully so. I mean, they really did do things that hadn't been done before and really kind of changed the game. And like you said earlier, man, putting Southern rap on the map in a big bad way, which rhymed more than I anticipated. Big Boy said at the time of this tune, everybody's been doing music like they all have the same formula. You get a beat, an MC, somebody to sing the hook, and go platinum. But where's music going to go when everybody's trapped in the same repetitious flow? Repetitious flow. I mean, dude, he's not wrong at all.
Yeah, so during the part that I was talking about here, it said should have hit it, quit it, then ragtop, which was an Outkast dance move going back to Rosa Parks. Before you re-up, get a laptop, make a business for yourself, boy, set some goals, make a fat diamond out of dusty coal. Record number 4, but we're on a roll. Hold up, slow up, stop, control. It's
control, like Janet. That's great.
It's so great. It's so great. And like what he's saying there is like, think about what you're doing, evaluate yourself, make a business for yourself, like go, believe in yourself, right? Like there are some lines in here that are talking about this band in general and kind of how they're the underdogs in the rap game. It's great.
Moving like Floyd coming straight to Florida, referencing Hurricane Floyd.
Yes. Yeah, Big Boy is on one on this track.
Yeah, dude. That's really great. It's a great song.
Also, to say Yokiro Taco Bell, then I hit the border, which is pretty.
Yeah, I left that out, didn't I?
It's pretty. That's a timestamp right there, y'all.
It is. Pity Pat rappers trying to get 5. I'm a microphone fiend trying to stay alive. Yeah.
when you come to ATL, boy, you better not hide because the Dungeon Family, we gonna ride. Don't pull your thing.
Microphone fiend, isn't that a MC5 reference?
Probably.
Have I got that right?
Probably. Dungeon Family being pretty much anyone that rapped with Outkast or sung with Outkast in the
right
superstar Janelle Monáe, who opened for them when I saw them play.
Oh, there you go.
Incredible vocalist, by the way. Her vocals were so loud and clear that it actually blew a speaker that they had to replace mid-show.
What?
It was pretty insane. And then Future ended up doing a set because someone called out the night that I saw them, which is weird. So it was like
someone called out.
Well, they had some health problems or something, so we just thought we weren't going to get to see. I think it was Solange was supposed to play, and then they ended up not being. They didn't end up being able to play. They just called Future, and he showed up and just did a set with one DJ rapping over his tracks, which was really weird. And then 2 Chainz opened for Outkast, which is like the most Atlanta thing you could ever see. The only thing that would have made it more Atlanta is if Pastor Troy also rolled through and played vice versa. But outside of that,
jeez, man, you're definitely the right one to do this episode because like you're dialed in, man. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like saying. It's kind of like saying, we're going to talk about Jim Crockett Promotions. We're going to talk to a guy that lives in Alaska. Here's Dan. I'm like, wait a minute. Is Dan the best guy in Alaska to be talking? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, there's bands from there's bands from cities and they mean a lot to that city. Like Bruce Springsteen means a lot to New Jersey or whatever. But like,
yeah,
trying to put over the importance Outkast and how much it means to Atlanta, like putting that into words is an impossibility.
Mm,
Like, all I can do is talk about my experiences living here and how much
sure.
they've meant. I mean, to the point where like every once in a while you'll be in an Uber and they're like, "What do you want to listen to?" And you just say Outkast, and next thing you know, you're all singing Outkast together in the Uber, drunk at 2 in the morning or whatever. It's just like a weird.
Man.
We all have that in common. Like here in Atlanta, we all have Outkast to fall back on. So I am glad. Like I said, if they're done, I think everyone in Atlanta is fine with it. We'd like to see more, but we're okay.
I'd love to see it. I think if it was on their terms and not because a record label was throwing money at them or a tour promoter was throwing money at them, if it was on their terms and they had something to say and they wanted to make music together again, and having said all that, I don't think they're going to do it either. But man, if they wanted to, like,
I mean, it would be cool to see them like do stuff with Kid Cudi and Future and Childish
mhm,
Gambino and bring in like Kendrick Lamar, like people they've influenced, Nell Monet,
mm,
like doing not doing just a straight Outcast album, but bringing in more people to do like a cool, like a
mm,
really cool, almost more like a Dungeon Family type album altogether. I would say, but yeah, that'd be
yeah.
cool. I'd be down for that. But I don't know that we'll ever get those two to just do a straight Outcast album. I could be wrong. Maybe things change. There's a lot of bad rap out there. Maybe they're like, we should put out an album.
Yeah, there's some bad rap out there. And like, every generation, Chris, your dad did it, I'm sure. Everybody's parents did it. Their parents did it too. What's this they're listening to? Oh, this isn't the way it used to be. And in my day, it was much better. But like, I'll listen to some rappers my kid listens to, and I'm like, yeah, it's all right. I don't know. It's
So
not doing anything for me.
my story's a little weird because my parents had me when they were 18 and 16.
Mm.
So the gap of music wasn't that far away. Now when I ended up living with my grandparents later on, I'm not going to go into deep family lore or whatever. That's when
Mm.
the gap of music started to be realized. But like we were listening to Outkast and stuff like when I was a kid, even before I became a teenager and began living with my grandparents, etc. So like that's always I don't have that gap that a lot of people talk about when they talk about like they're back in my day or whatever.
Right, right, right.
Um, so yeah, but my grandpa would not listen to any of this. Yes, he would hate it with a passion, even though I made him listen to it. There's no going back. Like once the you can't put this, you can't put the what is it? You can't put the whatchamacallit back in the jar.
Yeah, you can't put the genie back in
The
the bottle, I guess.
yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. Well, we'll go with that anyway. Um, yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I listen to some of the rappers my kid listens to, and I'm like, yeah, I don't understand why. I'm like, he'll be 3 tracks in as we're going somewhere, and I'm like, is this the same guy? He's like, no, it's 3 different guys. I'm like, BS. It's like, no, it's 3 different. I'm like, okay, I'm that guy too now, Chris. Where rappers, God, this sounds like a way, and I don't mean it to, but like today's rappers, a lot of them just sound alike. Public Enemy did not sound like Two Live Crew, did not sound like Busta Rhymes, did not sound like, DMX. Everybody had a sound. And like now, dude, these guys, I'm like, I can't tell one from the other.
Yeah, that's just you're getting old. Uh,
Well, don't tell me that.
no, I'm kidding. I get what you're saying. I mean, even old rappers are coming out and specifying like mumble rap, for instance. Like there is a great Method Man doing a freestyle talking about mumble rap, which is pretty great. I think it's just different. It is different. It's a lot of times it's way more about the hook. There's very few rappers now that also do a full song with nothing, like with no one else on it.
Yeah, that's true too.
So when
Yeah.
you think about like DMX or Jay-Z's albums from let's say 96 to 2003, like there were guest spots here and there, but there are so many songs that is just them on every bar.
Mhm.
Like how often, with maybe the exception of like a Kendrick Lamar or there's not that many people doing it out here. At least not doing it well enough to be in the public eye.
Yeah, that's fair.
So when you're like everyone sounds the same, it's because they're all on everyone else's track.
Yeah, and it's what the record labels want now. Obviously, that it's what's selling. So whatever is selling is what's going to be put out.
But yeah, like, is there room in the world for a new DMX, or has the do people just want the 16 bars, from three different rappers?
Hmm. God, that's a good question, man. That's kind of hard to answer. I mean, you would think that talent would stand out, but there's plenty of insanely talented artists out there who will never get a record deal or who can't get one, or the record deal they have is robbing them blind, as a lot of companies do, unfortunately. And great musicians, Chris, that you and I may never hear of, who are going to die. And we'll never know that, man, those guys were amazing. Like they just never made it.
And this kind of leads us back to Outkast and the importance of them being different during a time period that wasn't different when they came out,
Mm,
and continuing to be different, right? Like the thing
yeah.
that you just said is like, is this the same the same person? It's because you
Mhm,
had to be different. You have to be. DMX is different than any other rapper, minus the ones that followed that tried to copy him, right? Like,
mhm.
same thing with Wu Tang, right? Nothing really sounds like Wu Tang.
Oh my God. Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's, Biggie sounds like Biggie. No one else really sounds like Biggie. Like that, the separating yourself, with the exception of, like, people like no one sounds like Two Chains. There's lots
Mm,
of crunk rappers, but no one sounds like Two Chains.
mhm.
Setting yourself apart, I think, is very important in hip hop. I don't know how many people are out there still trying to do it. I mean, Action Bronson, I think, would be a good example, but he's never going to be mainstream. So it's kind of a
That's a good
weird
pull.
it's kind of a weird thing where it's like, you're getting the other thing is now everyone can produce a track
Mm,
versus like having to have investment from a record label and then a record label putting investment in is going to create the monster that you're talking about. So, like you said, a
yeah.
lot of the stuff that's really good you're not going to hear unless someone turns you onto it, or it shows up in best mixtape list or
Really, what
something
we're
like
saying,
that.
kids, is go out there and support your local artists. Like, it's important, man. It's much in the I've referenced pro wrestling way more than I thought I would here today. But like, you go see a local pro wrestler in your hometown, and in 2 years, that dude's main eventing on live TV. Like it happens all the time. And that's why support your local artists, kids, no matter who they be and what they may be doing. Folks, we've got one more track, and we've divided this album completely in half. Track number 12, Explosion, from with Be Real from Cypress Hill, legend in his own right at 4 minutes 8 seconds. This tune primarily features Andre, and we've also got Witch Doctor here on the chorus. Dude, I freaking love this tune. I think it's a great way to close out the first half of this album. What do you think about Explosion?
It's a great tune. It's also just weird. Like, those are two things I would never throw together: Be Real and Outcast.
It's an odd fit, isn't it?
But it works.
Yeah.
So it's like a curiosity museum of having say, I love Cypress Hill, I love Outcast, but it worked. I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wonder how that came to be. Cypress Hill must have been playing a show at like the Masquerade, uh, and then they just got a phone call. It's like, "Hey, B, what's up? You want to come?" Like,
Well, you never know,
how
man.
did this come to be? Did like he specifically, it would sound good on this track? Be Real. I wonder what he's up to.
Right.
Be Real would have been coming. This would have been right before Rap Superstar, Rock Superstar, or maybe around the same time,
Maybe.
which would
Yeah.
have been the probably the biggest hit of Cypress as far as like sales wise.
Mhm.
Probably their biggest hit.
They and this was years before Be Real was with Prophets of Rage. Did you ever catch that act? Like,
So I'm not a
so
huge Rage Against the Machine guy.
no? Hmm.
I know who Prophets of Rage are,
Yeah.
but I am not going to talk. I can't say a lot of positive things about Rage Against the Machine. I think they're
Oh.
fine. They're just a band that really got drove into the ground when I was in high school, middle school.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So it's, you know kids wearing She Guerrera shirts and I
and have
associate
no idea who he is.
yeah, associate Rage Against the Machine with a very specific. So I never really got it, and also I'm not a huge Tom Morello annoys me because he shows up on everything. Like he'll be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year playing something completely wrong for the style of music he plays. I appreciate Rage Against the Machine. I think they're very important in music, but I
Sure.
I'm not going to sit down and listen to a lot of Rage Against the Machine. But then
I'm a
again,
big
Bulls on
Rage
Parade,
guy.
Tom. Bulls on Parade.
I'm a big Rage guy, man. I always have been a huge fan. So like, um, yeah, hey, listen, this song and Be Real just made my point. Rappers used to have their own style. Nobody sounded like Be Real. Can you think of one guy that sounded like him?
Inhale, exhale. No.
I'm just saying, man.
Be Real doesn't even know how he sounds like Be Real.
Well, that's true.
Have you watched the Cypress Hill documentary?
I have not. How is it?
It's great. You should
Is it?
watch. It's the whole band for the most part, talking about how there's this little conservative, like not conservative like politically, but like dialed down version of Be Real, and then there's Be Real who became Be Real as a rapper,
Ah,
which is kind of great. And also just some of the musicians that they had in Cypress Hill is ridiculous. Like
right.
some of the drummers and things that they had over the years. But yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. Like I said, I like actually like Cypress Hill way more than I like Rage Against the Machine. So
They just did something with an orchestra too, didn't they? Where did I see that at? Cypress Hill did.
do you remember Cypress Hill's beef with Ice Cube? That's the real
I do
question.
not. Tell me about this. How do I not know this?
So Ice Cube did a song from Friday, which was a direct ripoff of a Cypress Hill song, which led to some diss tracks. I think it's squashed now, but there is that is a fun deep dive for you later.
Oh, I'll look into
the
it.
Cypress Hill Ice Cube beef off of what is it? What Where's Your Colors, or I can't throw your flag up. I can't remember. It's basically the two songs sounded very similar. One got put on the Friday soundtrack, and there was aftermath on that. So we're talking 94, 95. So yeah, Friday's probably in the archives, right?
It is not actually. We've never done that movie.
Friday should be in the archives. If only for me to talk about Bernie Mac as a preacher.
And what's his that played the dad? John Witherspoon, is that his name?
R.I.P. Yes. The
It's
deleted
fantastic.
scenes of him talking about Shaquille O'Neal is hilarious, by the way. For those out there that have never seen the Friday deleted scenes where they're letting him just cut a monologue while he's taking a dump and telling Craig to put the trash out. It's top tier cinema. It should have been in the final cut of that movie.
And when he's fussing at him about the refrigerator eating all the food.
Every time I come in the kitchen.
Every time
you in the kitchen.
You in the kitchen. Yeah. He's eating he's chewing some the whole time he's talking to him.
Eating the hog and balls.
Yeah. All the pig's feet. All the chili. Like it's so good.
I think about that anytime someone's cooking breakfast, like Mom's hooking it up. It's like, this is for me. Like he's like, have some cereal. We got no milk. Put some water on it. It won't hurt you.
Put some water on it, yeah. Oh my! Hey, I'll say this about this track: the tone of this song, like where it rests, like the rhythm of it. It's definitely in Be Real's. He's in his pocket. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, that's why I was curious on whether Andre thought of Be Real or if Be Real just came through and was like, "Oh yeah, let's do that."
Yeah,
because there are spots in this. It was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's specifically for Be Real." But yeah, as far as you said, you asked the question of rappers that kind of sound like Be Real. The only comparison I would be able to give you is, and it's not even a compare. It's more just like the uniqueness of them would be like Busy Bone and Be Real, as far as the way their vocals sound. That'd be the only thing I could really come up with.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, things have changed. I'm gonna get off of that. I gotta get off of that. It just makes me upset.
What makes you upset?
well, not upset. Upset's the wrong word. I just, I don't want to be stuck in my time, in the time I grew up in. And like, you very much are not stuck in your time. Like, we talk a lot about the stuff that was big when we were like, well, I'm older than you, right? But like when I was a teenager and then later on, and then you were a kid and then later on. But like, I've never considered myself, oh, I'm stuck in one. It's like a time loop. I just don't want to be that guy, man. I just don't like. I just sat here earlier and told you I wasn't into a lot of today's rap, but I do like Kendrick. Like, there's stuff I do like now. Like,
Which is funny because I think Kendrick's like highly overrated.
You think Kendrick's highly overrated?
Yes.
He's got a bunch of Grammys that suggest you might be wrong.
I could be. But I there's other rappers I would rather listen to.
That's fair.
But I give him, that's the thing that I was just saying is like when Kendrick does a rap song, at least he does all the verses.
Yeah.
So I there's respect there. He gets real conceptual with a lot of his albums.
He does.
Which is not necessarily my thing, I guess. I don't know. I don't dislike Kendrick Lamar. He's just I don't. He gets a lot of love, like a lot. He gets like 90s Nas love, and I'm not sure it's that level.
No, that's see, to me that's a very balanced like way of looking at things, and like that's kind of how I try to be. And look, kids, if you want to walk around talking about Kendrick's the devil and you hate him and you wish whatever, I guess that's weird, but I'm not gonna stop you.
Big
That's
Drake
what you
fan,
want to
that's
say.
me.
Yeah, like it's weird, but like whatever. But like to me, I'm more along your way of thinking, where it's like even if I don't like an artist, I'll respect them and I'll give them a shout and say, oh well, this band accomplished so and so. They're not for me, but I recognize and acknowledge what they did for the industry or whatever. So,
Also,
yeah,
he
I
is
can-
as far removed from like, even though he lists Outkast as an influence, I think it's more just like the way he structures songs and the fact that he's not afraid to take risks. Whereas it's not, it's so far, to me, it sounds so West Coast, and I'm not a big fan of West Coast rap, like the way the beats sound and stuff. So I'm just never going to be the biggest Kendrick Lamar fan. That goes back to like, be humble. So this is not a new thing for me with Kendrick Lamar.
Sure.
Like as far as current rappers that I really like, I like Tyler the Creator a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I like him. Yeah.
But yeah, I lean heavy to West Coast and things here from Atlanta. Mr. 2 Chainz, he doesn't get enough love.
Well, you're working on that here on the show, so we'll try to spread the word for you.
Yeah, we're gonna do all 21 of 2 Chainz. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. That man has more albums than Outkast, which is crazy.
Interesting. Yeah.
See,
6 albums, kids.
6 albums is crazy. Oh, Wolf by Tyler the Creator, I think, is one of the best rap albums released in the past 25 years. So, not 25 years, let's say 15 years. Because it came out in 2012. 2012. It's a great album.
And I do like I want to call them hybrid, but it's probably not. It's a weird term. Like, I love the Roots. I've always loved the Roots. So like there's acts that are I consider more modern era that I do appreciate and like to listen to. So like they're out there. It's just again, like it's hard for me to look at JC's like rise and that string of albums he had where he just was absolutely crushing it, and where DMX broke records with
4
how many
straight albums at number
4
one.
straight albums. Yes.
It's insane. No
Like-
one will ever do that again.
No,
Maybe
it's
with the
not
exception-
gonna
unless it's like Taylor Swift or something. No one will ever do that again.
No,
As a
I don't think it's gonna
rapper,
happen.
no one will ever do that again.
For sure, yeah. But like, look at those two guys, and tell me what. I don't know how I get excited right now. And like Kendrick sweeping the Grammys and getting all this recognition to me was very cool because it kind of reminded me of, man, this used to be not the norm. I can't say it was the norm, but man, I was around. We were around when this was a thing. Like,
But see, herein lies the problem, because it is my music is better than your music that you're talking about. Because when I think of Kendrick Lamar and I think of his albums, and then I think of And Then There Was X by DMX. I'm like, I would rather listen to And Then There Was X by DMX, or I'd rather listen to Illmatic or Stillmatic by Nas, or I'd rather listen to The Blueprint. Like
Mm.
that is the problem, is the positioning that he's being put in as a rapper, which is why I think he's
Ah,
overrated. Not
I
that
see.
his music is bad.
I see. So you think it's more of a media thing where they're trying to plug him into that
Well, no,
spot?
I think it's more of like he's the last gunslinger, because there are very few rappers that rap their full
Right.
tracks.
Right. Right. Right.
It's more of a like, it goes into that problem you're talking about. It's like, well, it's three people and they're on every song.
Yeah. Yeah. It's man, this
It's
really
like
does get.
if you had like it's like if you put Metallica, Megadeth, and Motorhead in a room, and then they all took turns doing vocals,
Uh,
but they were all doing a thrash metal song. That's like what a lot of hip hop is. So it's like James
that's
gets
true.
one verse, Dave gets one verse, Lemmy gets one verse. Could you imagine if other music did that? Like how weird that would be?
It is a thing, right? And like, not for nothing, but everybody's got to get paid too, unless someone just did you a favor. But like, everyone's going to get paid at least for their time. If they didn't write anything, they're at least going to get paid for their time, right? So like, yeah, it is a very odd thing. You're right about that. We don't really find that. Maybe jazz to some degree, where you'll see several musicians playing together or something. But like, you're right, dude. For the most part, it's really sort of a hip hop rap thing.
Yeah, and I mean, hip hop leans itself to that with bands like Outkast and Run DMC and Beastie Boys and groups, but those are groups.
Hmm.
Those are groups that do the whole album together. It's not just cameos on each other, like So I understand why Kendrick Lamar gets and until like all of Drake's weirdness came out because he decided to do a diss track, which buried his career.
Yeah.
Like it's the same kind of thing. Like there are very few and far between rappers now that will say, okay, I'm going to take a whole album and I'm going to do every track.
Mhm.
I'm not going to have a bunch of like, that's the thing about, in DMX and Jay-Z, they had them there sparingly, but it's like, you listen to a modern rap album, there's going to be an appearance going to say featuring, 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 featuring on almost every track.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So I understand the love for Kendrick Lamar. It's just, it still has that West Coast style beat to it that I'm
Mhm.
not, I don't know. It ain't no Pastor Troy, dude. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is a different thing. Let me ask you this: how many times have you listened to a rap song and it gets to the guest and you're like, "Oh, this ruined it"? Like, like whether it's just one verse, like it's near the end or it's near the middle, and there'll be the guest and the guest rapper, and you're like, "Oh my god, it's terrible." Like, I love the song, but this is terrible. You know what I
When
mean?
did the guest spot change from this is our next project that we're going to get over to help us go further? So like Cash Money Records, for instance, their guest spot was a 16-year-old Lil Wayne,
Uh,
right? So that's an example of like, when did that stop, where it's just rappers that are already known rapping with rappers that are already known.
yeah,
So like Kanye and Jay-Z doing a track together, it's like, okay, that's cool. It's Kanye and Jay-Z, but like they don't, it's almost the wrestling thing, right? Like like the whole idea, like we were just talking about a track off this album. It's Killer Mike's first track. They're using that to
right,
get him over so they can, help produce his album or whatever. There's not as much as that. What you see now is like already established artists are working on other established artists. It'd be like if you put, if you were like, let's do a duet, it's going to be Bruce Springsteen and Eric Clapton together.
right, yeah, 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 yeah.
Right? We're going to do Bruce Springsteen and Eddie Vedder together, or like, you know what I mean? Like just every
Mhm.
song on the entire album was that of a Bruce Springsteen album. That's so weird. Rap is the only outlet that's still a thing on. And that's not saying there weren't groups before, but they were considered groups, like Mo Thug Family, for instance. For those out there that remember the Mo Thugs, which was Bone Thugs plus like a bunch of their friends, essentially. Like all of this stuff has existed. I'm not saying it didn't exist beforehand. It's just it's amplified by the fact that they're already and they usually are assigned to the same label, and it does become this thing of So when someone like Kendrick Lamar is like, "This is my album. It's going to be about me," it's important, but it doesn't mean I have to really love it.
But Bone Thugs and a bunch of their friends is very wordy, so they had to call it something.
They had to call it Mo Thugs.
Just saying.
Which gives you great songs like Cowboy with artists you'll never hear from again, like Powder P, with
Oh my God.
lines off Ghetto Cowboy, like, "Hey, my name's Powder P, can I get a 12 gauge outlaw every day on the front page?" Remember that? I remember.
Oh, I do not remember any of that. Oh my
You don't
God.
remember? You better count your money, cowboy. You better count your money out. Name is crazy, big badass boy. You don't.
Man, don't you get me thrown out of here because of copyright. Good Lord. Think anybody's listening for that group anymore? Think anybody's out there with their ears on? What was that? A CB reference? Where am I right now? You got your ears on, good buddy, come back. Where'd I pull that from?
For those out there, am I the only person that remembers Mo Thug Family? Is it just
You're the only
me?
person.
It's got Thug Queen, Wishbone, Lazy Bone, Crazy Bone, Soldier
No.
Boy.
No, you're it.
Izzy
Soldier Boy,
Bone.
tell him. I know that.
You don't remember Ghetto Cowboy? How do you not remember Ghetto Cowboy?
Do not remember Ghetto Cowboy.
Okay,
Hey,
I know for sure you remember this banger from 1998. It's all good. Yep. It's good. It's all GWOD good.
No, I'm drawing a blank.
Wow.
Yeah, you're making that up. I think you just made that up. That's not a bad thing to make up.
My mind is blown. I'm going to send you the Mo Thug Family discography later.
Is there a discography?
Well, once again, this is how rap used to work: is you would have a collection of people, like, say, the Mo Thug Family, or the Dungeon Family, or Cash Money Records, or No Limit Records.
It was about everybody. Like Leaders of the New School was about everybody. Like Busta and Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul. It was about the movement. It was about the family. It was about, we're friends. You can appear on my, to me, that's a different thing. Like I see where you're coming from. Like you mentioned Jay-Z working with Kanye. Like young Jeezy really got his start maybe with Jay on the Blueprint 3, but man, he kind of stole Jay's light a little bit on that album because man, his vocals were fantastic. And
but Jay got him back, so that's what happens with Jay-Z.
Oh, that's true.
To the point where you have to make a whole song called Big Brother about it if you're Kanye.
Yeah.
But I think that we're at a stopping point at this point, right?
Oh, we've been at a stop point for 20 minutes.
But anyways, everyone got to hear me do Mo Thugs, so that's...
Well, listen.
We're going to look up who is Powder P. Who is this white rapper?
This is almost the After Dark on the 6M here.
Who is this rapper named Powder P? This white rapper named Powder P from the Midwest that this Chris Patton speaks of.
Yeah, well, if anybody I don't know. If anybody goes down that rabbit hole, I don't know.
They should, because like if they made an entire Mo Thugs cowboy movie, I would have went to that. That would have been great.
Mo Thugs. Well, you know what they say, kids. Mo Thugs, more problems. I don't know. That's not what they say.
Well, I mean, kind of.
I mean, it could be a problem. It could be a problem. I'm just saying.
Yeah. When is Bone Thugs getting inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? That's the real question. Which, by association, most of the members of Mo Thugs are going to be in there, right?
Well,
is it like the NWO and the WWE Hall of Fame? It's like anyone that ever was part of Bone Thugs or Mo Thugs are now inducted in the Hall of Fame. They're going to have to print like 48 rings.
Am I crazy, or I thought Bone Thugs was getting in or was in? Am I out of my mind? Am I losing it?
I don't think they're in.
I could be wrong. Why is it sounding familiar that something, maybe they performed recently at a Hall of Fame or something, or...
That's a band I missed my one time to see, which is unfortunate because I got sold counterfeit tickets.
Oh my.
And I don't know that I will ever get to see them again. And that makes me very sad as a person. You don't really hear about Bone Thugs touring a lot.
No. Well, they're all 50 now.
Well, also Busy Bone was in jail for a stint there.
Well, there you go.
So he released that song that was like, "You want a bag, you got a bag, you want a bag, you got a bag." while he was in jail. So
wow.
there's that.
Well, kids, that's your first 12 songs off of Outkast's Stankonia. And as we said before, this will be a two-parter for sure. We're going to come back when you listen to this, depending on when you listen to it. New episodes come out on Tuesdays. Part 2 of this will be out the next week. And then there you go. You'll have your essentially side A and side B to this album. So stay tuned for that. If you want to go do a deep dive on the stuff that Chris suggested, have fun with that. And as we said before, man, the legends that we talked about here today will always deserve a shout out because, you know, as we know, no matter what the field, whether it's jazz or gangster rap or rock or metal or what have you, you know, the best artists typically inspire others to follow. And man, Outkast sure did. And again, we'd love to see him perform live at some point. Don't know if it'll happen, but we do have the music, which is great. We do have the albums we can talk about, which we're doing. And again, a lot more to come. As we said, be on the lookout for part 2 coming your way very soon. But for now, that is Outkast Stankonia Side 1.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.